Don't go. Not this.
All right.
Hey.
Hey.
Welcome for another cozy review
Yeah,
with the boys.
Just the two of us.
I don't miss Ethan. This is a good duo.
He's right behind me.
Run. Okay, well,
The Wild Robot, DreamWorks' last in-house production. Apparently, they are expanding outwards. I don't know if they're teaming up with their parent company.
it seems like they've for years now like been splitting their animation duties between Universal and other distribution companies, because like I thought Illumination was just Universal, but it's actually including the DreamWorks characters. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
But it's so sad because they're like a great animation
They've been
studio.
around for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much since we were growing up.
Yeah. Like literally. Like
Shrek was the animated feature that won the first animated feature.
Exactly.
And that
Wrongly
was one of their
so.
milestones. Yeah, we love DreamWorks. DreamWorks is great. You know,
Lately though.
Yeah, they've had their misses, much like any studio does, but they've also had their many hits.
How to Train Your Dragon.
Obviously, How to Train Your Dragon's fantastic. I'm very partial to Kung Fu Panda. Not a big fan of the fourth one, or really the third one, but I really like Kung Fu Panda. Obviously, Shrek is a cultural landmark.
Yeah.
And now we have the Wild Robot. God, where do we begin with this?
Well, I think when you analyze animation standards, right? Let's look at how DreamWorks is doing it versus other studios. And I think they're taking the Sony approach, where it's not so much about we're got to make this as realistic, photorealistic as possible, like Pixar and Disney are sort of doing.
Yeah.
Like even with the cartoonish worlds of Disney.
It's like the
characters.
The CGI is so beautifully perfect.
Right, without having to be Uncanny Valley.
Yeah, but the thing about, like you said, Sony and DreamWorks right now is that they're leaning into that kind of comic book / storybook kind of style.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, I wouldn't say they're like realistic renderings of our world, but they're stylized in such a way that you're kind of taken into this almost like picture book kind of quality. And,
right.
It's beautiful. Maybe start with that. The animation in this movie, it is fucking gorgeous.
Every frame is a painting, and
really
I usually don't say that because I think it's kind of a bad thing. Because if you pause a movie at any point and you just sharpen it, it doesn't always look good.
Yeah, that's true.
But this movie,
this one, goddamn, there are many scenes in this film that we could talk about for hours about how beautiful it is. Especially, I really like all the stuff with the water, the fire where it's like a magenta pink.
The snowstorms.
Yep, the snowstorm's great. The butterfly scene.
Yeah.
Gorgeous stuff. Just like not even solely in animation quality, but like like artistic direction, color choice, design choices. It's just breathtaking visuals, and even the sound is fantastic.
Yeah,
too.
I watched it in a Dolby theater, not a Dolby Atmos theater, but a Dolby theater.
Yeah,
so
nonetheless. And
I think the sound design is as amazing as you'd expect from this company, because it enworlds you in
Dr. Fury.
It enworlds you in nature in a way like where if you feel like surrounded and engrossed in this picture.
Yeah,
it's literally a picture of the environment come to life.
Yeah.
But yeah, fantastic animation with one caveat, and I don't know, it's not really a spoiler. There are humans in this movie.
Okay, I will say you can tell where they put their budget.
Yeah, they put their budget in the animals, the robot, the environment, but when it cuts to the few shots of humans, it looks like one of those DreamWorks animated shows or like the Megamind show for Peacock or something, or whatever channel it's on.
Yeah, which is like it's not like a big detractor.
It's barely in the movie.
It's just something worth just.
It's horrifying.
Yeah, they do hit that uncanny valley. How did you connect with the story for this one?
Okay, going into this movie, I was super excited for it because it represented a unique. All right, good. He's gone. Anyway, I think. Oh,
Tori's food.
Go away.
More food. More mukbang.
Come on, we're talking about the wild robot.
We're talking about the wild robot. When I was super excited for this film, but I had no idea what it was. At first, I didn't know it was based off a book. So I thought,
I didn't know that either.
It's going to be like this dialogueless trip into to nature. And then when I saw the first clip, I was like, oh, like they're doing the celebrity voice cast thing, and I don't know how I'm going to connect to the story. But as far as I knew, it was just a robot connecting with nature, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's so much more than that.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, so if you've seen the trailers, you've probably gotten the sense that, okay, there might be some kind of like a family story with the connection between a bird and this robot, and, you know, maybe, you know, you have kind of the
context clues.
Yeah, and you also have like the classic like themes that immediately clue you in, right? It's like, okay, robot in nature, so probably learning to deviate from your programming, learning to, you know, be oneself and not adhere to like a script that you've been handed, you know, stuff like that, the usual suspects. But there's also like some great themes about parenting, about coming of age. There's even like some great stuff about human mortality, identity. There's just like, you know, there's all these little things that you can pick at and like find value in, regardless of whether or not you're connecting with one thing or the other.
Yeah.
There's always going to be something that you will pinch and you'll find to connect with, you know? And it's like, it's one of those kids movies, quote unquote, that, you know, a parent can take their child to and they can enjoy it just as much.
Usually, I would say in kids movies, you have the strong A plot and then a weak B plot. Think of something like, and I really like this movie, and I think all of us liked it. Inside Out 2 has a really strong A plot with anxiety. Yeah. But then the B plot, I guess you could switch them up.
With Riley
is
and
like
her two friends.
It's not great. It's like Hallmark.
Yeah.
And then the stuff with joy and anxiety, it's great. But the stuff with Riley in the first movie is fantastic because it's stuff we all deal with. Yeah. But in Wild Robot, the A plot and the B plot are equally as strong because they build up both Bright Bill and Roz so well. Like, you think a monotonous character robot without emotion can't carry the movie. And in the first 10 minutes, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like the voice she's doing. It's super high pitched. It's like
very cutesy.
It can get annoying after a while. But after she sort of meets Fink, the fox, and Bright Bill, the duckling, that's when it all started to change for me, where I was like, oh, this is much more than that, because the drama feels effective. Both of their plots like intertwine masterfully with their own individual missions and like as characters, to the point where when they are separated, it doesn't feel like one storyline is lacking, or I'm like, get back to that storyline. It was more my speed. Yeah. Because I was emotionally invested in both. And surprisingly, like, I was taken aback by how much emotion I had at like a certain montage scene in the middle of the film.
I think I know the scene you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I am the same boat.
I was holding back tears because of how just powerful it was.
Grand,
it reminded me of Smallfoot.
Right there, bro.
But not in
we just so you know, we mean that in the most we're big fans.
But not in the same way. Like, it wasn't like a pop song being used ineffectively. It was because of the characters and the voice performances behind both of them that made it so effective, because you're like, this is like the turning point of this character's journey, and you're like, wow, they have to go their own way. Yeah. And that's amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to touch on. I think maybe one slight detractor for me was, you talked about the strength of the A and B plot, and I couldn't agree with that more. I think maybe the one thing, and I alluded to this earlier, about how the movie's about all these different themes and concepts, which are all fantastic in their own right. But because the movie is so filled with so many of these different elements going on, for me, there are times where it can feel a little spread thin. And that's more specific. Like, all the stuff with Bright Bill and Roz, love it.
Fantastic.
Like, that should be the entire movie. For me, there are some things like
a C plot that is,
like Fink and stuff like that. It's like, I'll take it, but I'm not like,
it's for comedy purposes.
Yeah. So, like, you know, for me, the movie could have existed without some of that stuff, and it would have been like, I would have been just as emotionally attached to this movie as I am now. But like, you know, ultimately pretty small things.
I feel like with with those like conflicts, right? We talk about in storytelling classes, ethics classes, and even in elementary school, they teach you about like story techniques and how there's like man versus nature, nature versus machine, stuff like that. And I think this film captures all of that in one giant ball with like subtle allusions to like humanity's indifference towards the planet and stuff like that, and how the advancement of technology has really detached us from society as a whole. And I think there is so much going on, and you're right. I think they do spread it a bit thin to the point where it's like, I wish you had more time. Yeah. Because if you had more time with that C plot, I think it would be
would have developed better.
Even better, because it would have been more than just a comedic side character with a very good underlying like motivation. You know, like at first it's like, oh, selfish, and then it grows into something a little bit more wholesome. Yeah. But if you would have spent more time developing that relationship with nature, would have been like probably one of my favorites of the year. Not saying it isn't. It's still in my top 10. I love this movie. But it is one of those movies that moves and doesn't like stop. Yeah. And to a certain extent, that's okay. But as we've talked about with modern movie pacing before on the show, it can get exhausting. Let it breathe a little. Let it breathe. And it does from time to time. Yeah. But not enough. But do you have a score for this one?
I'm sitting at a very, very solid 4. Yeah. 4 out of 5 for me.
I'm going to sound like a broken record, but 4.5.
Hey,
I think it's
I respect that.
I think it's just really well made on all fronts. I liked it more than Inside Out 2.
Me too.
I thought it catches you off guard with its emotional nature, just because at first it starts out really cold and kind of unfeeling. Yeah, I would say, and maybe that's because you're following a robot as a protagonist. But even then, I think it effectively carries through a lot of stuff, even with its kind of macabre sense of humor for like a kid's movie.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some stuff where I'm like, that was kind of dark.
That was ballsy.
Yeah, but my theater loved it.
Yeah, no,
even the kids loved it.
Like lots of like death humor, which is super interesting.
The possum.
Yeah.
Oh, that was hilarious.
6 kids.
Yeah, 6 kids. All right.
But anyway.
Well, thank you guys for watching.
Yeah. Let us know.
Let us know what you think about The Wild Robot. If you've seen it, go check it out. Last in-house DreamWorks movie. So give it some support, show them some love. They've been an important studio to the animation world, and I'm glad that they're going out with their full in-house productions with a huge bang. I think this is great for them.
Of course. Hopefully this movie has some good legs.
Yep.
We love legs, don't we, sir?
Yep. You too, you love legs.